If you are a grade 9 learner preparing for KJSEA, one of the biggest questions you may have right now is this, that what exactly should I be doing every day of the week or before the examination? You may be studying, but are you studying the right things? Should you be reading notes, doing revision questions, working on past papers, or concentrating on the subjects that you find difficult? Now in this video, I want to give you a practical 8-week KJSEA study plan that you can start using immediately. And if you are watching this video with only 4 weeks left or 2 weeks or even 1 week remaining, don't leave. I will show you how you can shorten the plan and concentrate on the most important activities. So according to the official NEC timetable, the 2026 KJSEA written papers will begin on Monday, 26th October. So that is for 2026, but in other years the date can change. So your preparation should become more focused as the examination gets closer. So we are going to begin to see how you can organize yourself if you have 8 weeks or less. Now if you have 8 weeks, between week 8 and week 7, you are supposed to find out where you really stand. This is the first step. Between week 8 and 7, find out where you really stand. Now what does this mean? This means that you should not make the mistake of simply opening the first textbook you see and begin to read. First, you need to identify what you know and what you don't know. Then, take each KJSEA subject and divide its topics into 3 groups. The first group is the topic that you understand well, then those that you partly understand, then the third group is the topics that you struggle with. And then now, after you do this, you are supposed to study most of your revision time on the second and the third groups. If you have a lot of time, that is what you should be doing, because 8 weeks is still a lot of time. For example, if you're already strong in one area of mathematics, but you regularly struggle with another, now giving both topics equal revision time may not be the best use of your time at this level of 8 to 7 weeks to exam. You can also attempt a revision paper or a set of mixed questions in each subject. You should not worry too much about the score at this stage. You are supposed to use the questions to discover your weaknesses. So the reason why you are using the past papers is to help you to discover the areas that you are weak at. Then now, start a small KJSEA mistake notebook. You see, you can have a notebook stating that these are the questions that I'm failing more, so that every time you get an important question wrong, you can record the topic and then why you got it wrong. Maybe it is because you forgot a formula, maybe you misunderstood the question, or maybe you knew the answer but you failed to explain it properly. This notebook will become extremely useful later or as you progress with your revision in the coming weeks. Because now, after week 8 to 7, if you are in week 6 to 5, this is what you are supposed to do. You are supposed to build your knowledge. And what do I mean by building your knowledge? We should begin by taking serious topic revision. This means you don't need to spend a lot of hours just reading. You are supposed to be doing active revision. In active revision, I say that you study a topic, then after studying a topic, you close the book and ask yourself, what can I remember without looking at the book? And then try explaining the concept aloud as though you are teaching another student. By the way, have you ever noted that if you say things out loud, they stick more and you are less likely to forget? It is very important for you to practice reading and then saying things out loud, or just saying like you are teaching someone else. And for subjects such as mathematics and integrated science, you are supposed to practice questions immediately after revising a concept. If, for example, you are reading about integers, you can now go and take questions about integers and then revise or try to do those questions and see if you understood. Then for languages, you are supposed to do actual writing, comprehension, and language questions instead of only reading examples. And then for subjects that require facts like social studies and those that require definitions of processes, what are you supposed to do? You are supposed to test yourself regularly to see if you remember the fact. Do you remember those facts of those things? Because some of the things are facts. It is something you cannot explain. The answer is like that. That one you have to test yourself regularly to see what you remember. A useful study session could look like this. For example, 20 to 30 minutes learning or reviewing a topic, and then 20 to 30 minutes answering questions on that topic, and then finally 5 or 10 minutes checking your answers and correcting the mistakes that you have made. Now, if you are between week 5 to 6, remember this rule, that revision is not complete until you test yourself. This is the stage at which I say you need to test yourself a lot. And then now moving on, we go to week 4 and 3. Now between weeks 4 and 3, you are supposed to do something I call move to exam practice. Move to exam practice. What does this mean? This is where your preparation is now changing a lot, because you should now spend most of your time answering KJSEA style questions and complete revision papers. If you have between 4 to 3 weeks, concentrate on KJSEA style questions, and we have a lot of them in our channel, and we are going to have more. If you want to see KJSEA style question, meaning that if it is a mathematics paper, the same way the KJSEA paper is styled, that is how the the paper you are doing should be styled, and the level of difficulties of the question should be the same to help you prepare or to help you know what to expect. At this point, you are supposed to start practicing under timed conditions. Now, if a paper gives you 2 hours, eventually practice completing it within 2 hours. This is going to teach you something that reading alone cannot teach you. That is called time management. I have seen very many bright students who know the answers. They have the question paper, they know the answers, but because they never knew how to manage their time, they failed most of the questions, or they did not have enough time to complete the paper. And to avoid that, you need to know proper time management. And proper time management, you can teach yourself between weeks 4 and 3. And then after every paper, you don't look at the score and move on to the another one. What are you supposed to do? You are supposed to correct it properly. And then for every wrong answer, you are supposed to ask yourself things like, did I not know the content? Or why did I fail this question? Did I misunderstand it? Was it a careless mistake? Or did I run out of time? If you ran out of time, you know now that you need to organize yourself. For example, if section A has 20 marks and section B has 80 marks, at this point you should be wise enough to know that you need to spend less time on section A, which is maybe multiple choice questions, and then spend more time on section B. Now, after you answer those questions, go back and revise whatever caused the mistake. One carefully corrected paper can sometimes help you more than several papers that you complete and never review. And this is very important. If you are watching this video with only 4 weeks remaining before KJSEA, or that's where you're headed, maybe you have more weeks, but you know at one time it will be only 4 weeks, start here. Spend short time identifying your weakest topics, but don't try to recreate all the previous 4 weeks. Just combine topic revision with question practice immediately. At this point, if you do that, you still have time to improve, because 3 to 4 weeks is still a lot. And then we move on to week 2. Now week 2, this is what you are supposed to do. You are supposed to attack your weak areas. That is what I call it, attack your weak areas, because there are still those areas that you have not captured. With approximately 2 weeks remaining, you should know which topics are still costing you marks, because remember, you have been reviewing, you have been looking at the topics, you have been doing all these past papers, you have that notebook I told you about. So at this point, you know your weak areas, and it is time to attack them. Now you are supposed to open your mistake notebook. That one is a notebook that every grade 9 learner should have, and then look at your marked revision papers, and then determine which mistakes keep appearing. Which mistakes are repeating themselves? If it is mathematics, which type of questions do you fail oftenly? And now make those your priority, because you don't have much time. And if the other areas you have already understood them, then you can now make the weak areas that you have already identified your priority. Again, if you are repeatedly making errors in maybe fractions, equations, scientific concepts, grammar, composition, interpretation of questions, or any other area, work specifically on that weakness. And then don't spend most of your final 2 weeks revising only your favorite subjects because they make you feel confident, or should I call it overconfident. Your weakest areas often contain the easiest marks to gain before the examination, because your strong areas, those ones we can say that you have maybe secured those marks. But your weak areas, if you are able to tackle them at this point, they are going to help you to gain more marks, or you are just securing more points, or you are giving yourself a better position just before you take your examination. At the same time, continue practicing subjects that you are already good at so that you don't lose your strength. So I'm not saying that you abandon the areas that you know very well. You are still supposed to do them, because you cannot just concentrate on one thing. And then now we move on to week 1. Now, if you have only 1 week remaining, don't try to learn everything. That is what I call week 1. Week 1 is a week of not trying to learn everything. During the final week, your goal should change again. This is not the time to panic and attempt to read every book from the beginning to the end. You don't have that time. You only have 1 week and you have many subjects. You are supposed to concentrate on short focused revisions. What do I mean? This is where now you review formulas, definitions, important processes, and then commonly confused concepts. There are those concepts you already know, but you can confuse them. Those ones, and some processes, some of the definitions maybe in social studies. You see those things that you know, but you may have forgotten. Now those are the short focused revisions. You can also write formats and then correct any mistakes that you have identified, which are easy for you to correct, especially if you noted that I'm making this mistake, but it is very easy for me to correct it when you are revising. Now you can correct such mistakes. With only 1 week remaining, you can still answer questions, but avoid exhausting yourself with endless papers. You should not take too many papers, like 3 math papers, 2 math papers. You should just answer just some of the questions that you can. Do what you can at this point. Also, begin preparing physically for the examination. By preparing physically, I mean that you should do things like sleeping properly. You should make sure that you are sleeping enough, and then eat normally. You should not overeat or eat less. Don't allow yourself to be stressed out, because this can affect your concentration, and also taking your exam, it can affect how you answer those questions. You're also supposed to prepare the materials that you need. Remember that you have a geometrical set, all those things that you need depending on the subjects that you are taking. I'm sure that the requirement should be given to you by your school or by your teachers, and then make sure that you prepare those materials early enough so that during the time of the exam, you won't feel unprepared. Another thing, you should know your examination timetable. Understand it very well and understand what it means to have that timetable and what you should be doing during your exam. If you want to know more about examination timetable, I made a video explaining every day of the timetable, each and every day, starting from the rehearsal day. I have explained what you are supposed to be doing during that day, what you should be doing during the first, the second, the third, up to the last day of the exam. And if you look at that video, it is called KJSEA examination. You can find it in this channel. You are going to understand how you should be revising, the time that you should be taking, all the things that you should be looking at in each subject during that time. So if you watch that video, I'm sure that it is going to be very helpful to you. Again, you should ensure that you wake up at a time that prepares your body for morning papers. So remember that studying in the morning can be very helpful to you. And some people, when they study mathematics in the morning, that is when they are most productive. Others can find that studying for pre-technical studies or integrated science in the morning, that is when they are most productive. For you, look at the paper that is best for you to study in the morning, or you can exchange them and then study them. Then the official KJSEA timetable shows that first session papers begin at 8:30 a.m. in the morning. So don't develop a habit of studying until extremely late and struggling to wake up. That is not a wise thing for you to do. Remember that a tired brain does not perform at its best. Actually, the best thing for you is to rest enough time, especially during that examination period. If you have only 1 week or 2 weeks left, these are some of the things that you should do. For example, don't panic. Even if you discovered this video very late, you should not panic. If you have 2 weeks remaining, you should spend the first week combining week topic revision with timed questions, and then use the final week for corrections, key concepts, and lighter revision. Again, if you only have 1 week remaining, don't try to squeeze all the things that I have said you should do in the 8 weeks into the 7 days. No. What you should do is to identify your biggest weaknesses, revise the high priority concepts, and then practice some selected questions, and then review the common mistakes and protect and ensure that you sleep enough. That is what I call protecting your sleeping time. If you are supposed to sleep for 7 hours or 8 hours, make sure that time you don't interfere with it. What matters the most is using the time that you still have effectively. Don't spend your time, for example, in discussions that are conversing and not studying. If you are in a group discussion, let it be a group discussion that is helping you. If your friends or the people you are studying with are not using that group discussion time to actually study, then you should not associate with them. But if they are using that time to help you study and to help you understand some of the concepts, then you should continue the same. Now, I can give you your daily KJSEA routine just to help you, especially if you discovered this video late, or even if you still have the 8 weeks. This is your daily KJSEA routine. Now, whatever stage you are in, try to make every study session achieve 3 things. I'm giving you some very important tips here. There are 3 things that you are supposed to achieve at the end of every study session. And if you do this, especially if you have 5 weeks and more, you are going to benefit a lot. Number 1, learn something. Don't read for 30 minutes and you learned nothing. Make sure that you learn something. In every time that you study, learn something. Then number 2, test yourself on it. Don't learn and then assume that it has stuck and you have not tested yourself. Make sure that you test yourself. Then number 3, correct your mistakes. Now, after you learn and then you test yourself and then realize that you have made a certain mistake, correct your mistakes. Correcting your mistakes means that you are not going to make that mistake again. For example, if you answer a question and get it wrong, if you correct yourself, you are going to realize that if you encounter such a question ever again, even in future, because remember, senior school will be a continuation of what you've been studying. So even if you learn right now things that won't come in your exams, they are going to be useful to you in grade 10 and above. So every time you correct your mistakes, remember that knowledge is going to be very helpful to you. That simple cycle is much more powerful than reading the same notes again and again and again. Again, remember that you don't need to study every subject every single evening. You should create a balanced weekly timetable. And in the video where I was explaining about timetable and how to prepare for KJSEA, I have explained how your timetable should look like. You can check out that video. Then give difficult subjects more attention, but keep touching every subject regularly. You should not abandon any subject, whether you are weak in it or moderate or you are strong in that subject. You should not ignore any of those subjects that will come in your KJSEA. Also, include short breaks. When studying, if you study for many hours without concentration, this is not automatically better and it will not guarantee that you will understand more. Actually, if you study for shorter periods, you are going to find that you understand more and you are going to be more productive. I have a final message for you as I conclude this video, and the final message is this, that KJSEA preparation is not about panicking during the final few days. It is about gradually becoming stronger. First, identify your weaknesses, then build your understanding, then practice questions, and then after that, correct your mistakes which you have identified when doing those questions. And finally, enter the examination rested, prepared, and confident. Not overconfident, but confident. Whether you have 8 weeks, 4 weeks, 2 weeks, or only a few days remaining, start with the time you have and do what I have told you. Don't waste today worrying about the time that you have already lost. You should not do that. You should use today well. If you are preparing for KJSEA in 2026 or any other year, save this video and return to it as you move from one stage of the plan to the next, so that you can see what you should do in the next weeks. In the comment section, you can tell me which KJSEA subject is currently giving you the most difficulty. I may prepare a video specifically to help you improve on that subject. Thank you so much for watching this video. Please subscribe to this channel. Also like this video and share it with someone who might benefit. All the best as you prepare and as you take your KJSEA examination. Bye.